And then everybody can see that?
Yes, it's okay. I can see your
Okay, great.
screen. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to present. I really appreciate this. My name is David Adams. I work at Cal Poly Humboldt in Northern California. I did my doctoral degree at Texas Women's University, and I was in a cohort with other presenters that are presented today, as well as under Dr. Lisa Silliman French, who will be presenting earlier, and I think is presenting with Amanda Young next. So we have a program at our university, and it's for our graduate students. And the program, what we do is we wanted to implement self-determination theory to increase exercise performance for individuals with disabilities. And so the purpose of the program was to evaluate the impact of a structured exercise program that included the basic needs. And so we'll get into what self-determination theory is, but some of those basic needs are, well, there's three. And the first one is autonomy, second one is competence, and the third one is relatedness. And again, we wanted to do that on individuals with disabilities. And so it was a 6-week study. We run this every spring semester. We have 8 APEE graduate students that are currently in the program, and they're on a federally funded grant. So within the 2-year time span of this grant that they're under, they receive a credential and an added authorization in adapted physical education, as well as a master's degree with a focus on APE. There's one faculty, myself, who supports the students in the program. And then we had a total of 7 participants aged 15 to 22. And I think what's really nice from what I've seen in the previous presentations is there's been a lot of talk about motor interventions for younger individuals. And obviously this project or program focuses on older individuals. And the reason we do it is because transitioning individuals with disabilities outside of the K through 12 program is really important to make sure that they can be physically active for the rest of their lives. So we think it's really important to make sure that they have some of the basic fundamental skills and knowledge so that they're able to go on and lead a healthy life where they're physically active. So self-determination theory, and we're going to go back to those 3 basic needs. The first one is autonomy. And autonomy just means that you're able to make your own choices. And so for many individuals with disabilities, this is something they're not able to do. A lot of choices are made for them. But in our program, we want to give them full autonomy. And you'll see as we go through this presentation how we provide that autonomy. Competence is the ability to understand how to perform a movement and having confidence that you can perform that movement. So again, we'll go into how we provide competence within the study. And then relatedness is the feeling that you are part of a larger group or part of the individuals in the environment that you're in. So we try to, in our program, make sure that we provide these 3 basic needs within our program in the hopes that it will increase their exercise performance. And so self-determination theory believes that if you provide these 3 basic needs, that you will increase motivation. And motivation can be extrinsic motivation, which could be like a high five or talking to someone. It's just something that happens outside where we can see, something you can receive. And then intrinsic motivation for many of our participants could be feeling better about themselves while they're working out, understanding that they're able to do a exercise at a higher duration of length or intensity. So again, we try and give all these basic needs in the hopes that we increase exercise performance and motivation. All right, so here's our participants. We had 7 total participants. Again, the ages ranges from, we recruit 15 to 22, but you can see that we had participants 16 to 22 years of age. Our first 3 participants were 16, 17, and 18. All 3 of them were male. All 3 of them had a primary diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder. Our 4th participant was another male, age 19, had a primary diagnosis of Down syndrome. Our 5th participant was our only female in the program. She was 21 years old and had a diagnosis as an intellectual disability. And then our 6th and 7th participant were, again, 2 males, both with similar diagnosis of an intellectual disability. So the setting where we do this at, we do this on our campus. It's in our student recreation center. And you'll see on that first picture is our turf field that we have on campus. And our turf field is where we did all of our testing on the 3 major exercises that we wanted to improve our participants in. And it also gave us an opportunity to bring our participants in. We have a lot of, and it also protected us from the weather. We didn't want that to impact the performance of our participants or their motivation. The second picture goes into our gym. And so this is a lot of our aerobic activities that we can do. So we have our ellipticals, we have our treadmills, we have our Stairmasters, we have any of the machines that we can use for aerobic exercises. And then in the third picture is where we have our free weights and some of our machine weights. Our machine weights we mostly use with a lot of our students who struggle with fine motor skills or handling large equipment. So if a student struggles, we start off with our machine weights really to protect our students from having any of the weights fall on top of them or put them in any danger. So we don't want our students not being able to hold a weight. So many times we start off with machine weights and then we'll move into the free weights once they've demonstrated the ability to perform the movement on the machine weight. So that's the setting. We were there every single 6 weeks. This study takes place on Friday evenings. One of the reasons we do it on Friday evenings is because it's one of the more impactful times in the exercise area, meaning there's a lot of people in there, and that goes back to how we establish like a relatedness within the study. So we want our participants not only around each other and around the AP graduate students, but we also want them around other individuals at or around their age for them to see that they're doing something similar to other individuals. So here are our outcome goals. This is what we want to improve. So we have 3 major exercise performances. The first one is the 6-minute walk. And so our 6-minute walk is based on, it's 100 feet back and forth, or 33, almost a little bit more than 33 yards. And all we tell the participants each week is that we just want you to walk as far as we can, or as far as you can. So the first one is the 6-minute walk. We then do the push-ups. We do not use a cadence for our push-ups because in the past when we've done this, a lot of our students were not able to keep up with the cadence, so they were unsuccessful right away. So what we do is we decided just to do 1 minute, and we allow our participants to do as many push-ups as they can in that 1 minute span, which means that a participant might do 5 push-ups in the first 20 seconds, and then might need to take a 20-second break and then do another 3 push-ups in the next 20 seconds. That's completely fine. We just record the total number of push-ups within that 1 minute. We follow the same guidelines for the curl-ups. So we tell the participant, complete as many curl-ups as possible in the 1 minute. And to measure curl-ups, we follow FitnessGram. So we place a rope or a rubber mat 4 inches from their hands when they are down on the ground. And we just ask that their hands or fingertips go over or touch the rubber mat or their jump rope. After they do their baseline testing, this is where the autonomy comes in. So we present the performances or the scores to each one of the participants in their 6-minute walk, push-ups, and curl-ups. And then we ask the participants to set goals for themselves. So this is where we want participants to feel the opportunity to decide where they want to go with their goals. So for instance, a person or an individual could do 5 push-ups on the first day. They could decide that within 6 weeks, they'd like to be able to do 12 push-ups at the end of the program. And those 12 push-ups is what guides how our training program goes. And we'll get into that in a little bit. So the same thing goes for the 6-minute walk and curl-ups. Whatever they do in their baseline, they get to decide where they want to be at the end of the program. And that's how we provide the autonomy within our program. So in order to record data, we use a changing criterion design. If you're familiar with changing criterion design, it matches up very strongly with self-determination theory because a changing criterion design uses a stepwise increase in approach, where each week we set a new criteria of performance for the participants. So that criteria of performance is identified in these solid lines that go across right here. These are our criteria of performance for each week. These dotted lines that go down right here are each one of our subphases. So all that's saying is each week we identify these as subphases. Single subject design has been identified as a research design that can be used to establish evidence-based practices. And one of the way you do that is by making predictions, verification, and replication. So just to do this really quickly, but to understand, so prediction is based on your baseline score. And what's really nice about this is, so if we look at our baseline score, the participant performed a total of 6 laps in the first time they were given the opportunity. We predict that if an intervention is not provided, that the participant's behavior will either will stabilize or remain the same. So we say that the intervention is our self-determination theory, our structured exercise program. When given that, the participant will improve. We then go to verify those results in the same subphase, so prediction and verification. So we predict in the next phase, we verify in the next phase. And then replication is done when you implement the same intervention in another phase. And so we do that across into the second criterion. And so another great thing about changing criterion design is each one of these subphases acts as its own baseline for the next subphase. So with each one of these criterions, we can then predict, verify, and replicate those results. Check for that in the following criterions. So also, single subject design allows us to see individual changes from each participant where we wouldn't see in a group design or an experimental design that uses statistical analysis. So again, we know our dependent variables. Those are our outcome goals: 6-minute walk, push-up, and curl-ups. Some secondary data that we take on all of our participants is we want to know also, can they follow directions? So did the participant follow directions leading up to the beginning of the test? If not, how many prompts were needed? And the reason we do this is we want to make sure that when these individuals go out and they have a coach, or they're working out with a peer, or they're just doing things on their own, that then when they are given instruction, that they can follow those instructions. So if the participant is struggling with that, we allow our participants or our graduate students, then we'll use other evidence-based practices or practices that have substantial amount of research backing them, such as visual cues or physical prompts, to lead the person into, okay, the instruction's been given or the request has been given. Now we're trying to support them in understanding where they go after that. We also look at, was there a delay in responding to the directions? So what is the latency that happens, or is there latency? And if so, how long? So not only do we want to try and improve their understanding of the directions that are given, but we also want to try and improve their response rate or response time to that. So we want students that are, or participants that are, when given directions to begin going to an area to work out, that they respond appropriately and in a timely manner. So those are our dependent variables, as well as our secondary data that we have. So here is our intervention. Like we said, it's a structured exercise program. So again, our graduate students, they run the whole program. I just, as a faculty member, oversee it. But you can see that, and we follow this every single week. So from 5 to 5:10, the first 10 minutes of the program, we warm up. From 5:10 to 5:20, we do our 6-minute walk. Obviously, there's 10 minutes in there. We allow 6 minutes to do the walk, and we allow the extra time for individuals to recover and get ready for the next test. And then at 5:20 to 5:25, we do the push-ups. Again, within that 5 minutes, there's 1 minute that we use for the push-ups, and the rest of the time is allowing them to recover. One thing we want to make sure is that they have an opportunity to recover so that they're not fatigued when they go into the next test. So the same pattern follows for the curl-ups. 5:25 to 5:30, one of those minutes is used for the curl-ups. And then we spend an hour in the exercise program or our gym. And so if you go back to the setting, that goes in where we take the students into the machine weights, the elliptical machines or exercise machines, and the free weights. And that's where they get the opportunity to, again, have some autonomy about what exercises they want to do. And what's really important about this process part is that once they've decided the exercises that they want to do, whether it's, let's just say, getting on the treadmill, our APE graduate students then have to build. We use a lot of task analysis, so we'll break down the skill of getting on a treadmill, and that could be turning the treadmill on, making sure the student knows how to adjust the speeds, making sure the student knows how to exit the treadmill appropriately. If they're doing a machine weight, knowing that where they can, how they can adjust the weights, what their behavior is while they're doing. So what it might be feet on the ground, breathing in as they bring the weight up or bring the weight in, and then breathing out as they push out. So we try and break down each skill with the participants, and that goes back to the competence. So we want to make sure that when they're in the gym, that they understand how to use the machines, because ultimately, like we've said, this program is developed as a transition plan to allow these individuals to exit the program and hopefully get a gym membership or work out on their own and do these same exercises with limited amount of support. So that's an hour long that we spend in there. And then we all come back as a group. And from 6:30 to 6:40, we do a cool down and stretch. We also go over during that time, we go over the goals that the students had or our participants had for that day and whether or not they were able to successfully meet those. And then we prep them for the next week, which means that we tell them, okay, so this is, we're going into our third week. Your goal for the whole program is to do, for example, 12 laps in the 6-minute walk. Next week, your goal is to complete 8 laps. So we try and prep them to make sure that they understand what the expectations are for them based on the goals that they've selected. So how we collect data, again, those 3 major exercises. So we have the 6-minute walk, push-ups, and curl-ups. We just do the number of laps completed for each week, and we have the established goals. And then another part that we give to our graduate students is we want them to take some anecdotal notes and make some decisions. So if the participant, or actually did the participant meet each of their weekly criteria goals? If no, which weeks and why do you believe this occurred? So we want our graduate students to start thinking about what might have been in the environment that could have impacted their performance. Now, a major weakness of our program is that we're not modifying we're not trying to control their exercise that they do prior to coming to the program. We're not trying to control the when they're eating, the type of food they're eating. So we all know that those could have a big impact on our results. But we still make some observations based on why we think the participant was or was not able to meet their established goals. And then we have our second piece of data, our second data sheet. And what we do here is in week 1, we have the established goal or what the baseline score was for our participant. And then we have our criteria of performance that goes through week 2 through week 6. And in each one of those, we would then on the right side of that, write in the number of laps completed. So what this sheet does is it helps us build our graphs. And we'll see that in the next slide, how this data sheet supports that. So we have our criteria performance, laps completed, criteria performance, push-ups completed, and criteria performance and sit-ups completed. And each one of those will help us build our graphs. So let's look at our graphs. So again, a weakness could be that we only collect 1 data point per week. That's how this program is set up. Our class only meets on Fridays, so we run the labs on Friday nights as well. But you can see for participant 1, that was our 16-year-old male with autism, and he performed 6 laps on the first week, so our baseline. The criteria performance for him was set at right around 7.5, and you can see that participant did not meet the performance or the criteria. The similar results occur throughout the number of laps completed. You can see how the criteria is set in a stepwise fashion where each week increases. And unfortunately, this participant was not able to meet any of the performance criteria. Completely different in the number of wall push-ups. So In wall push-ups, the participant had a baseline score of around 12. And then you can see that in each one of the following weeks, except for week 5, that the participant was able to successfully meet the criteria of performance. Unfortunately, the number of curl-ups were very similar to the number of laps, right? We had a participant who had a baseline score and then based on the criteria was unable to meet the performance criteria that was set. And so it's important to note too, that even if a participant, and we made this decision prior to the program beginning, even if a participant in, let's say, criterion 1 here is unsuccessful, we continue to raise the bar or raise the criteria in the following weeks with the hope that that motivates them to reach those goals. Okay. So, sorry, I'll go to participant 2. This is our 17-year-old male with autism spectrum disorder. Different results, right? And that's what we expect in individuals with disabilities and individuals, all individuals. So we see the number of the walking distance, the baseline score, and then unlike our other participant, this participant was able to meet and exceed all the criteria and performance that was set for them. Same thing goes in the number of push-ups. They had our baseline score, and each criterion phase after the participant was able to meet or exceed those performance criteria that were set for them. Same thing with the number of curl-ups, right? We had 0 curl-ups or sit-ups done in the first week, but then was able to exceed or meet that criterion of performance. Okay. I have one more participant that I want to show a video. So our last participant, similar to our first participant, this was our only female, 21-year-old with an intellectual disability, had her baseline score for walking, met the first criteria, but then in criterion phase 2 refused to participate in the activity. And then was unsuccessful in criterion 3 and 4 at meeting the established criterion phase. Similar results were seen in the total number of push-ups, where baseline was able to meet the score, again refused. It was just a tough day for our participant. Did not want to participate, but then met or exceeded the criteria of performance in the following 2. And then our last one for our push-ups, had our baseline, and then was unable, again, did not participate, and then was unable to meet the criteria of performance. So I'm hoping this video will show, but I want to show you quickly kind of what a exercise looks for us. Delari, can you tell me if you can see that video? Okay. So this is one of our students. He's doing a machine-weighted bench press.
Bu arada ben çok özür dileyerek olabildiğince toparlamaya çalışırsak çok sevinirim. Bir sonraki son oturumun çünkü süresinden epey almak durumunda kalacağız. Çok teşekkür ederim.
So I'm hoping you were able to see that. But again, our program is designed to support individuals 15 to 22 that are transitioning from the K through 12 grades outside of the school, hoping that they can participate in physical activity on their own.
Videoyu göremiyoruz. Belki videoyu açtıktan sonra paylaşım yaparsa David görebiliriz.
Did you lose me? So our participants, you can see at the end.
David, we are sorry we couldn't see, we couldn't watch your video. So